Valero just dropped the hammer on 237 good-paying jobs in California. This is all due and thanks to Gavin Newsom's war on energy. Let's get into some more progressive failure. Here we go. So we're in that time period where the refineries are being idled, but they're not at the point where you can just totally close them down. We're not at that final exit yet. And the refinery has committed to importing some more fuel in so California doesn't go through this big herky-jerky back and forth with their supply. But eventually, the refinery is going to close down. I mean, that's just what's happening. Read this article, and we've talked about it before, but Gavin Newsom's, the way that he spins this is that he is actually doing everything he can for Californians. As California, you guys watch the price of your gasoline just steadily climb. It went down over winter. Now it's about to go back up because you've got that, you got that summer blend that's a coming. Washington State this morning, I just literally paid $4.59 a gallon. Rest of the country in the twos, sometimes under two. I'm like, what am I doing living here? Valero expects the shutdown to be permanent and 237 jobs will be cut March 15th to July 1. Those losing jobs are not represented by a union and represent the bulk of the plant's 348-person staff. So 237 out of 348 leaves just over 100 jobs, just a bare bones minimum to basically do what they need to do with a completely idled and soon-to-be closed plant. We do not plan to coordinate services with the local workforce development board or any other entity, refinery manager Lauren Bird, whose position is being eliminated, said in the letter. Guys, I'm going too. Boop. We're all done. We're all gone. Texas-based oil company announced in 2025 plans to close the plant, and last-ditch efforts by Governor Gavin Newsom, regulators, and local officials to keep the gates open were unsuccessful. Literally, California, the Gavin Newsom told California Energy Commission, oh yeah, you guys need to go out and find a buyer for this plant. Even though the owners are like, no, we're shutting it down. We don't want anything to do with California and its backwards policy towards what is running the world at the moment. Instead, they've got this, we're all going to go green. We're all just going to be so virtuous. We're all going to recycle. We're just going to drive electric cars. And that's just not the case, right? It's just simply not the case. It's not going to be the case for decades down the road. Multiple California refineries have closed or converted to making biofuels in recent years. Dwindling fuel supply in a state where drivers regularly pay the highest gasoline prices in the nation. You know what? Washington State. Yeah, maybe on average, California does. But where I am consistently paying more than anybody else in California that sends me text messages. Like, hey, Sean, we got higher price gas. I'm like, no, you don't. Washington State, Democrat rule. We've had 40 years of Democrat rule here. And what do you get? Really expensive gasoline. Oh, you can count on it too, right? Take that to the bank. Last week, Newsom praised plans by Valero to continue supplying the state with gasoline in the shutdown, saying the decision to import fuel to the region was a constructive development from an earlier possibility of a full-on exit. All you're doing there is you are delaying the inevitable. That's all that this is. That's all that this is. You basically told the state, yeah, in the meantime, when we idle the plant, between that and when we actually close it, closed. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in some more for you so you poor bastards can have cheaper gasoline for, just a little bit longer further. And then we're just going to rip off that Band-Aid when you guys close the plant down. We'll just see how it goes. Just see how it goes. See if that $8 to $12 range by the USC professor, see if that comes true. Well, when you reduce supply of something that is very much in demand and has a consistent demand component, where do you think pricing's going to go? Yeah. Down? No. No. Let's take a look at Gavin's statement. I mean, this is his job. This is podcaster Governor Newsom's job of spinning something so horrific as yet another refinery is shutting down. And somehow he gets the population to believe that he's really working on stuff and he's being transparent. It's a bunch of mumbo jumbo because at the end of the day, Valero is going to close this bad boy down and you're going to lose 22% of your production in the state of California domestically. And I say that because Phillips 66 is doing the same darn thing. They're in the process of closing down their Wilmington plant right now. Right now. I mean, that is literally what they're doing. But if you listen to Gavin Newsom, this is why he got hired. Listen to this. And I've read this before, but in the context of this, hey, people are actually losing their jobs, right? While others point fingers to spread fear and divide us, California is doing the actual work. What actual work? You did the actual work of pushing refineries out. You pushed Chevron out after 140 years. They said, you know what? We're going to take our headquarters and get the F out of here because you guys, you forced us. All these fines, all these regulations. Oh, you got to have this special blend for California. Can't make it from here. Can't do this. Can't do that. Oh, well, fine. We're going to give you an $80 million fine. So Newsom's trying to convince us California is doing the actual work. What work is that? Collaborating with industry. No, you forced industry out. That is what California has done. You have forced the oil industry out to the point where they don't even say, we're going to sell this bad boy refinery. Instead, they're just like, nope, closing her down. We're done. Boys, let's gather up our toys and get out of here. Using data and transparency to protect consumers. Well, when the consumers go to the pump and they have the highest gas prices in the United States, how much protecting are you actually doing there? And then with data, what data exactly are you talking about? Like seriously, what data are we talking about that is going to protect the consumers? It's such nonsense. It's just absolute. If I just sat here and read and said words that I thought up, it would make more sense, right? Like regulation, transparency, iPad, computer, headphones, watch, shirt, TV, light. Does that make more sense than what Gavin Newsom? It's equally it's babble, right? It's just absolute babble. So we got protect consumers and building the all of the above energy future America needs. Really? How's that coming? How is that coming? Because the same weekend that you announced that you weren't going to have, gasoline cars for sale beyond 2035, you also asked the California consumer to not charge their vehicles that weekend because it was going to be a hot one, and you knew that the air conditioners would blow the grid. I mean, it's absolutely baffling. But if you're from Washington State, which is just California 2.0 and not necessarily a better version, you're just like, oh yeah, that seems about right. We're in ongoing discussions with Valero to evaluate options for continued operations at the 𝗪𝗓𝗓 Refinery. No, Valero said, we're done. We're out of here. Oh, by the way, we're firing everybody except a tiny skeleton crew of 100 so people that we're going to leave behind because they need to, do whatever it is you do when you clear out a refinery. And I appreciate the company planning responsibly, including planning for imports of refined products to supply the market in the meantime. And then what? And then what are you going to do? Well, then you start to see what happens with that gas price as you've restricted the supply that you make domestically. Yeah. Newsom administration and Valero will continue working closely together. Such nonsense. Just nonsense. This is from Governor Gavin Newsom. The governor's office decided that in response to some stuff out there in the media, that they're gonna set the record straight. Refinery idling or closures are unique to California. Here's where they're trying to off-play. It happens all the time. It's no big deal. This trend is not unique to California. No, but the level of refineries that have closed and not been replaced and not replacing what you had in California is. Refineries are closing globally, and refining capacity is consolidating in mega refineries. So they're going to throw out some big fancy words here so that Californians, you think, oh, it's totally normal, completely normal. Let's check this one out. This is a good one. California's energy policies threaten military fuel supply and readiness. Okay, we know where this came from, right? We've got our California legislator, Stan. We've got 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗧𝗛. He's our oil expert. And then we've got the professor, Mishi. You never know how to pronounce his last name. And he basically, the three of those guys came together and said, hey, your pricing is going to go through the roof. Oh, and by the way, you've exposed the entire West Coast to military invasion because it wouldn't take that much to basically shut down the ability for United States Armed Forces on the West Coast to fly their jets, to run their tanks, to do whatever. Because we've got such a lack of supply of fuel, particularly because of this California nonsense. Claims that California's energy policies threaten military fuel supply or readiness are not grounded in fact. Well, if you take out a handful of refineries and there's only 7 to begin with, what do you think might happen there? The California Energy Commission is engaged directly with defense-related fuel customers throughout refinery transitions. There's a bunch of nonsense, and no credible concerns have been raised about future military fuel procurement getting fuel for the military. Reliable alternatives, including imports, remain available, ensuring continued access to necessary fuels. This misses the entire point, which is, what if you have a war and somebody comes to attack the United States? Wouldn't be that hard to clean clock on the West Coast, would it? Now that you've reduced yet another 2 refineries out of 40-something that California used to have, you've made the West Coast wildly vulnerable, in my opinion. California's clean energy transition weakens energy security and makes the state less reliable. Absolutely. But they go on to say just a bunch of nonsense. Just pollution is down and the economy is up. Greenhouse gas emissions in California. At what cost are greenhouse emissions down when there's so many countries in the world not doing a damn thing about emissions? They're just like, let California do its stupid green energy nonsense. We're just going to send it off into the air, into the atmosphere. And they do. All this stuff about clean, green energy, it's just a bunch of virtue signaling. It's a bunch of nonsense. Just a bunch of nonsense. Let's move on to a story by San Francisco Chronicle. And this basically the same thing. It's got a few more details here. Lauren Bird, Valero's vice president and general manager, wrote in the letter to the city officials, the employees at the plant are not represented by a union and do not have bumping rights, which allow workers with seniority to claim lower-level positions. We do not plan to coordinate services with the local workforce development board or any other entity, and we read that earlier. They are literally shutting this bad boy down. Just done. Closed. Gone. Layoffs follow Valero's earlier decision to idle the refinery by the end of April rather than permanently closing it outright. Well, that is a coming, right? That is a coming. And then, this article also goes on to talk about Gavin Newsom's office says, just a bunch of nonsense. We know the refinery is closing. People are being fired, and it's all because of this painstaking virtue signaling on an issue that, we're not giving up gas powered cars. We're not giving up gas, trucks, jet planes, you name it, anything that needs current fuel. We're not giving that up anytime soon. It just, the whole throw in a battery and call it good just does not work on so many different levels. And I think it's really coming out, and it will come out after these 2 closures, we see how much gas goes up in California. Maybe gas does go to $8 a gallon in California. I mean, it would probably go up here in Washington State as well. We've got different refineries. We get our oil from different places, but still, West Coast, Best Coast, anything that happens in California, we're impacted by as well. And same thing with Nevada and Arizona. They're dependent upon a certain percentage of their fuel from California and its refineries as well. So they're going to be impacted too. So it's not just West Coast, Best Coast, but it's other states. And it's military to me. It's military readiness. So I know this has been kicked up through multiple other layers of government, but we're just kind of waiting to see how this one goes when these plants do actually stop producing, and California's got to get their oil from somewhere else. See what that looks like. Gonna be wild. All right, that's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.